Felt like we were doing well as a business, but the bank account wasn't showing it. Maybe I had a better estimate of it, but nobody else on the team knew. And now everyone on the team knows exactly how much. And you know what that number is? It's like 72%. Until we had SV kind of come in and really help us create the right metrics, put our business units in their own silos.
Because usually when we think about OKR implementation, we just think about setting up the dashboard. We don't think that it needs to connect with the vision, with the narrative, and with the budget.
For those years, we really cleaned up a lot of things about the company and set ourselves up for a period of growth, which we're seeing just starting now.
Johnny, tell us a little bit more about your business very quickly, just an introduction for potential customers that are watching us.
Absolutely. So we are a multi-brand entity, globally recognized as tech-enabled services. We started a company called Appficiency. I started that 11 years ago, and today we have 5 major brands that we work underneath. The group of companies together means that we can approach any customer with any technology stack and help them with really an outcomes-oriented project assessment, anything from selecting the right tech to implementing the right tech, working on sort of the business changes required to take advantage of that tech. And on top of that, we've created both a software team and a software company that builds products to enhance existing customers' investments. Today we work across the globe, from Japan and Australia to UK and North America.
What has been the main challenge that you had before you decided to work with SV?
I think the main challenge that we had was, we felt like we were doing well as a business, but the bank account wasn't showing it. And the ability to invest in the things that we need to invest always seemed to be one quarter away, one good year of results away. And so there's this natural tension until we had SV kind of come in and really help us create the right metrics, put our business units in their own silos with a proper formula so that we could really see what the metrics of the business were. So for us, we had to do some rehabilitation, if you will, and get to ground zero. And I think that helped us understand, okay, what we're dealing with. Then we put in the pieces that helped us do the scaling. And so that was really the operational metrics that were tightly aligned to strategy. Today, I'll tell you that in the past, we had budgets that looked like everybody else's budgets, right? You got payroll, OPEX, sales and marketing, SG&A, whatever you want to call it, and off you go. There's some gross margin, and you kind of did it by that. Today, we have budget based directly upon strategy. So here's our 4 strategic areas where we're going to approach and tackle. Here's the budget aligned to each one. Here's the performance we expect from each one. And here's how it contributes to the more boring, plain, old school vanilla budget. And I think that was the biggest learnings that we got from Scale Up Valley. And of course, doing that work, you have to talk about what's your narrative. How does a customer see you? What do they see about you that makes them want to buy? And what do they see about you that makes them want to walk? That conversation on its own is less valuable because what happens for a lot of companies, I think, is they have this great strategic idea. A lot of them do. They got great ideas and they want to implement it. But then they're stuck because their financials and their budget don't align to what they're trying to do in the narrative. So when we kind of connected all 3 layers together and made it one stack, if you will, then things got a lot easier.
I think what you are saying is things are very aspirational, usually in terms of vision, strategy, OKR work, and then people also give up very quickly the OKR implementation because we are not being able to achieve the metrics that we designed because we are not allocating resources and the teams to achieve those metrics week over week, right? It's not about also moving those metrics down. It's about finding the way to how we cross the gap, but also being able to align all of those milestones together in a system that you can see how your company performs every week. I think that's one of the things that I remember that you really wanted to see every week, sit down with your leadership team and see, okay, how are we doing? Where are the bottlenecks? Where are the wins? Where are the red flags, the yellow flags? I still remember you talking about the color amber. Oh, this is maybe not red, neither yellow. So that's one of the things to really get control on how the business is doing and really work with the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for our business, especially when you're going through moments of change in your corporate history, you need to meet weekly and you need to have the metrics reviewed weekly. We still use it, of course, and the system is exactly what we wanted, but we don't need to visit it as often. The 4 times a month kind of thing probably only happens realistically twice a month now, but the other 2 slots are used now to do the productive strategy work that you wanted to do. So in some ways, we have just as much control, visibility, and directional focus on the business as we always had now, or as we had since we implemented Scale Up Valley. We also now have the luxury of having a little more time together and free time to focus on the ideation and the creativity needed to innovate for the future. So that's been really good.
I know it's difficult. We have worked for 19 months together. We concluded the project in Jan of 25. So if you go back, whatever you can recall, which doubts did you have in the decision phase when you got to know what do we do and you were considering to find a solution for a problem? What made you doubt about working with us?
I think honestly, the number one doubt I had was a personality mismatch. Your personality or someone from the Scale Up Valley team's personality work with us. I was worried about like fit and acceptance and the team's ability to listen and
Mhm.
interpret and absorb and act out and execute the insights
Got it.
from SV.
And what finally motivated you to work with us? So how were you able to cross that chasm, that doubts of, okay, maybe this is another consulting company. They are talking about OKRs and this stuff. I have so much to do. I'm sure that you had other projects that were competing with the SV project. So what made you really, okay, this is the one and we really need to make this work and we need to have the team committed to this and put the resources behind this?
Yeah, I think what kind of moved me over the edge to take the plunge and do it was really your commitment to work with us on a more frequent basis. I always say people that have businesses have money, we want to spend it. We don't like, we want to spend it to get a return though. We don't want to spend it to just
Right.
lose it. And because we don't know whether we're going to lose it or whether we're going to get a return, that's the harder question. But when the return has more, when there's less risk to it because we see that we have someone who's as committed to the success of the program as we are, then it makes it more easy to dive in. And so I think that for us was more of a question about who's going to be the agent that puts their eggs in the same basket that we have. SV did that for us.
Awesome to hear. If you need to highlight one result of the impact we had in your company, what would come immediately to your mind?
No question, it's going to be P&L. Sounds silly, but it's absolutely true. To see the P&L improve, to see the controls in place. What I didn't expect, which came out of it, which now I look at it much more important than maybe I understood in the beginning, was if you had asked me how much of our business is devoted to our narrative and how much of our business is driven from our narrative when before we started working, I would have told you I think a third, but I'm not sure. And maybe I had a better estimate of it, but nobody else on the team knew. And
Mhm.
now everyone on the team knows exactly how much. And you know what that number is? It's like 72%. It's dramatic. It's not a small amount, and everyone knows it. So, because everybody
Oh,
knows that, guess what they do? They focus their energies on improving that narrative or developing a new narrative that can be as good as that one. We look at that as a template and make the next tower rise. That was like I came looking for why isn't my P&L returning exactly what I thought it would versus why isn't my strategy translating to P&L. And now I look at it as like strategy translates to P&L because the P&L tracking is now there. Like the P&L tracking is in the day-to-day metrics, right? It's in the week-to-week meeting metrics that we look at.
thanks for highlighting this because usually when we think about OKR implementation, we just think about setting up the dashboard. We don't think that it needs to connect with the vision, with the narrative, and with the budget. It really tells the story of the company.
Yeah, the mechanics are just the mechanics, right?
Yeah.
But the mechanics are a window into how you are operating with your heart and soul. The mechanics are just how do you know someone loves you? Because they kiss you, right? So, but the kiss
Good
doesn't matter.
example.
It matters that they love you, right? And so this is the same thing here. The P&L doesn't matter. It matters that the narrative produces a P&L. And so it matters that the strategy produced that P&L. Yeah.
We know that you also have a consulting background and your core business is ERP implementation. So you like things that are well organized and well structured. And
Absolutely.
sometimes SV brought a little bit of a
Yeah.
challenge to you in terms of the strategic work, right? But
Mhm.
nevertheless, how easy, how was the process? How was the experience for you to work with SV?
So I would say, like overall, the experience was great, obviously, and we worked with them for a few years for that reason. And over those years, we really cleaned up a lot of things about the company and set ourselves up for a period of growth, which we're seeing just starting now. So I think that's really exciting. Your question about the chaos that came along with it, I think the chaos was not something I would attribute to SV. It's attributed to whatever level of debt that we had coming into it, whether it's strategic debt or whether it's operational debt or there's technical debt. It's some debt that you're paying off. And that chaos is that. It's not the enzyme's fault that it made the milk turned to yogurt. It's the yogurt came from the milk, made the transition happen faster.
Awesome. Great analogy. And final question, and I leave you alone. To which type of person or company would you recommend SV? So do you think this is a system that works for any sector, more for professional services, or SaaS businesses? Do you say there is a specific kind of CEO and leadership team that would benefit the most out of SV?
I mean, I think you have to be at least of size, at least maybe 10 million revenue to consider outside counsel in general. But beyond that basic thing, I think the primary requirement is, are you at the right stage of life for that? So, for example, you may not need a professional sports coach until you've at least made it to your regional championship, right? Because it's overkill. So sometimes you're ready for that. And I think the primary thing that a leadership team should look at is, have you missed your own expectations on your plan for more than a year or two in a row? If you have, I think you need it. And if you haven't, then maybe you got to figure it out. And obviously, not everyone's got the same problems we do or had. So I think when you miss your own expectations, that's when you need to look around. And that's when I think you're ready for this. Yeah.
Johnny, thanks so much for the collaboration and thanks for making the time to share your experience with our future clients. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Yeah. Good luck to all of them and you.